Hello again. This is your favorite neighborhood vet. Today I kind of just wanted to go over my book that I'm writing. Well, me and my brother pretty much are writing. We have. I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to spoil anything for those who want to get the book. When it finally gets out, I do plan on sending some free review copies, signed and everything. When we get it fully published and everything, I'm going to talk to the publisher and be like, hey, I want like 20 so books that I can send to people. But I wanted to kind of talk about what the overall theme is. And we don't have a name for it yet, or a title yet. That's we're going to come with that near the end but I have the story as right now. I have it fully typed out. Just the story. My brother and I are now going back through it, and we're editing, correcting, looking for mistakes, looking for if we need to explain anything deeper for the reader, and reading it out loud to each other, reading it out loud to my wife, my kids, and having them input and what they think, if something needs more explained or delve more deeper into what it means. Pretty much what the whole theme of the book is. The main, I don't know if we call it theme, but the main reason I wrote the book is due to all of our franchises pretty much falling through. And I've had this story in my head since I was a kid. And my backstory, my parents are pastors. So I spent most of my childhood in churches, reading the Bible, and something has always nagged at in the back of my mind. In heaven, there is no sin. So what caused Satan to sin? What could have been the reason behind his pride and his vanity? What could have tricked Satan himself, or Lucifer at the time, he was known as Lucifer, Archangel Lucifer, into becoming Satan? So the premises of this book is that it goes into the beginning of time, and God created everything. Pretty much, there was an explosion of energy. When God made light and dark, he cast darkness from himself. So think of God as the light and all of creation. So what was the darkness God cast away? Well, it is not a completely, I wouldn't say an enlightened entity. It was a part of God that desires to be alone with God in all of existence. It hates life. It hates creation. But it doesn't have a true will of its own, almost. Like, if you can understand what I'm trying to get at. So it wishes to consume life and twist it to serve its own purpose. So in the book, I have it where Lucifer discovers this and ends up being turned into Satan. And so that is where the demons come from, is the darkness twisted angels and other alien life into its army. So pretty much, okay, so you got that part. God knows that the darkness is spreading, and to protect life, God creates an entire race by using Michael the Archangel and Raphael. He takes two of his greatest archangels, and he takes their feather from their wings. And like he does on Earth, when he took the dust of the earth and creates man, he uses these feathers of the archangels, which makes these new races that I'm coming up with part angelic. So they'll be more powerful than normal, mortal beings. They live a lot longer. They have a lot better technology. They're blessed by God and taught by the angels for thousands of years. They're trained and taught and developed by the angels themselves. So it'd be like if Earth had an advanced alien race that was purely good, that trained and taught us everything. So that's where the start of pretty much this book, the overall theme of this book. And in the end, they were God's shield for the universe. So their entire purpose is to hold back the armies of darkness from spreading through the universe until the time where God can seal them away in hell forever. And or at least until the final battles between heaven and earth. So that's the basis of the book series. And so I've come up with several different characters, but right now we're just going to the book. We're trying to make details like, how far they should have gone in technology, what their technology should be used for, kind of political aspects in the books, so on and so forth. So, but it's really interesting. I'll tell you this. I'm not a professional writer. I don't have an education in writing. My education's in protecting and military, police. That's my education level. And English used to be my worst subject in high school, which is amazing because I never liked writing. But, guys, the Phantom Menace really helped open my eyes. Not just because they're like-minded like myself, but because they said something very interesting. They said, if we want true change in fantasy, if we want to have, we're tired of watching our franchises dying, maybe it's time for us to stand up and create something new. Something for the next generation. Something like level of Star Wars. Because if you think about it, if George Lucas never made his movies because he was too afraid, we wouldn't have Star Wars. If people didn't want to make Star Trek, if they were too worried about, So what I'm going to do is I had this story since I was a kid. I used to play with Legos as a kid, so I created massive stories in my mind through Legos and other means, using my imagination. Before we had, video games and all this stuff, we had to use our own imaginations to think of, ways to entertain ourselves. So, and it's driving me nuts a little bit. Ever since I decided to write this book, it is literally like the only thing I could think about. I have a hard time even playing video games right now, or reading books, or watching a movie, because I watch a movie and I'm thinking about the story that I want to write. And I'm thinking about books in advance. I've already got enough story in my mind to write 3 or 4 books just right away. But right now what we're doing is I have the first book already completely typed out. And my brother is a lot better at English and stuff than I am. And so what we're doing is I'm using him as my editor. He's going to be my partner in this book franchise. We're splitting everything 50-50. We're going to go into business. We're kind of in business together almost. Kind of like, some of the famous authors actually had, family members that helped them write their books. And I think it's a good way. If you ever think about doing something, find either a friend or someone you can trust to give you honest opinion. And that's what we were doing. We're bouncing ideas off each other right now. We're going through each chapter. It took us 3 days of editing just one chapter, the first chapter. And we're still going back and be like, you know what? Maybe that name for that thing isn't the best name. Let's try something else. Or maybe we want to explain something a little bit more. So this is a process that's really interesting, and I'm having a good time doing it. And I'm really, really wanting this to do well. I don't know if it will. I put my faith in it, and I'm putting my faith in that the geek culture nerdum is looking for something. We're losing so much, and we just want something to really fill in that gap. Yeah, it's books. I'm writing a book, so a lot of people probably don't care. And that's fine. At first, I wanted to do is a book, and then if that does really well, I want to try, maybe get a hold of some of these comic book guys who are, doing Comicsgate, and try to make a graphic novel with them. They would get most of the money from that, but it would be part of this franchise. I'm not looking to become rich off this. I'm just, it would be nice to be able to buy a house, but what I just want to do is I want to get something out there, something that I believe that is wanted and needed, and there's a lot of good book franchises, Witchers, the Harry Potters, the Narnia. I love Narnia. I love Lord of the Rings. I have loved those writers, J.R. Tolkien's. R.A. Salvador is one of my favorite writers. Shout out to him and the Forgotten Realms and the Legend Drizzt, I think. Actually, I always call it Drizzt, but his name is Drizzt. But those books really inspired. They got me through hard times, especially Legend Drizzt, because I found those books. Actually, I found the first book I ever got from that one overseas in Iraq. I happened to go to one of the PXs over there, and I was just bored, and I needed something to, take up some of the time where I was just sitting around waiting for the next mission and the next, job or next whatever we were doing. So I picked up that book. It looked really cool. It was a dark elf with 2 swords and a cool cat, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks good." Because that's what people do when they go to bookstores. Sometimes they look for a certain book, and sometimes they're just bored and they want something new. And I found that, and I read it, and I loved it so much. I went online to the crappy little internet thing they had at one of the bigger bases, which took like half an hour to load a page. Typed in Amazon, looked up the books, and I ordered several of them at a time so that I could read them in order. And I read the entire, I think there was like 12 books, until he came out the new Neverwinter stuff that I haven't really got into too much, but I need to, because over the time though, those books have kind of, I've lost them, or they, got damaged. But man, they were good. He's one of my favorite authors because of those books, and I've actually talked to him on Facebook once. I was asking him a question, and sometimes you get answers from the authors, and this one actually didn't. And I texted, I was like, "Hey, I know you went past the 12 books, and I've picked up one, but I don't know which ones are which because I haven't seen a list. I like to read things in order. When I read stories or I watch movies, I want to watch them so it makes sense. Or I want to read books in a series that, I don't want to read the middle book and be like, crap, I don't know what's going on. So I like to read them in order so you understand the characters, you follow the story. I love books. The story is good on its own for just the one book, but it has multiple books to help expand the story. Each book has their own story. That's what I'm doing in my book. The first book is literally its own story. So you won't have to read the other ones and get a full good story. But there will be other books that continue that story. And so we're really working hard on trying to get it done. And I'm hoping by this December it'll be fully done and ready to go get shipped. And get a publisher. That's what we got to do as soon as we're done editing. We're going to find a publisher. We're going to talk to a lawyer and find exactly what we have to, because we don't know what we're doing. We're new at this. So we're probably going to talk to a lawyer or some other writers who've actually done books and be like, hey, what do we need to do? We need to get it copyrighted first, or do we just do a publisher and the publisher wants to copyright it through them? What is it that, will make this special? Because I want a new franchise. Not if it's born from this, it's great, but I want honest opinions. So if I send review copies out to like Nerderotic, was one of the ones I do plan on sending a book to, because I like his channel and I like his honesty, and the way he reviews TV shows and he reads books and he loves, the fantasy sci-fi world, and so I want an honest opinion from him and other people, and what they think about the story, what they think about the characters, what they think about the world and the universe I'm trying to build. And after the first part of the franchise, I plan on expanding it if it's really accepted well. Like, let's say I make 6 books, that'd be the main franchise of the main story will be probably around 6 books. And if it's really accepted well and it's really loved, I plan on expanding it. I want to go before and I want to go into what happens after, because I want it to where, you know, they travel the universe, they explore different worlds and, you know, interesting places, and I want to, if it's really well, I can hire more people to help me build upon, you know, this world. I want, and I'm all about you fans. If you want to, you know, send me stuff and be like, hey, you know, what do you think about adding this, and, you know, fan theories and all that stuff. I love that kind of stuff. You know, I'm a Star Wars fan, theorist. I like reading, you know, theories, and I like going into lore, like, you know, Lord of the Rings to Elder Scrolls to all of, you know, these worlds where they have such deep lore behind their, you know, stuff. And I like that stuff. And this whole, the problem we have right now in our society is people attack the fans. I hate that. You know, these people at Lucasfilm would think that we're, you know, lesser people. Like, how dare you question me? And I'm fine with it. If you have negative things you want to talk, if you want to say, hey, your book sucks, I don't like this concept, or I don't like that, so, you know, fine. All right. You know, that's your opinion, and I have no problem with your opinions. I have, you know, if you're going to attack me for a stupid reason, well, that's your, you know, but I love to engage the fans, and that's one of the things I want to do with this franchise. Is when if it does get to the if it does well, and I do grow a fan base, I do plan on doing a lot of fan engagement, because that's what I want to do. I want to be out there with the fans. I want to be one of you. It's like a fan creating stuff for fans. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this entire book thing because, yes, I would like to have a job where, you know, I do YouTube full time, and I write my books, and I just love my job. Right now I work security, and I do other things, and I take care of my family, but I would love to be able to become a professional writer and professional YouTuber, and use them as coexistence. You know, I would talk about my book on this channel. I talk about pop culture and new stuff that's coming out. I really want to see new things that are coming out that's really good. Like, I would like to see a Lord of the Rings TV show done right. If they do it right and they stick to the story that, you know, Tolkien and all these writers first came up with, and not try to take it to their own. That's what I cannot stand. Anything. If I got hired to write, let's say, for the Lord of the Rings or something like that, no way in hell am I going to put my name in that thing. No, I'm going to go to the family. I would literally go and interview the family, the writer's family. I would sit down with his family. My first question would literally be, why did he do this? What was the love he had that created this? Because a lot of writers, it's something in real life that they saw and they wanted to make into something magical. And so I really want to, I would sit down, I would read the books over and over and over again. I would go into every lore detail that's ever been produced by Lord of the Rings franchise, and I would study my ass off, and I still probably wouldn't be ready to write something as great as something like that, and to try to do it justice, because some of these things are timeless franchises. These are, God, Lord of the Rings, especially Lord of the Rings, is one of my favorite franchises because it's timeless. Narnia, the Narnia series. Those things were childhood experiences that I could never replace. My dad used to read Narnia to me when I was growing up. That was one of the first book series besides Star Wars that my dad ever sat down at my bedside and we read together. Was the Chronicles of Narnia and all the books, and those are great. The Redwall series is one of the first book series I ever picked up as a young kid in the library. And these franchises are something that go beyond us. They're not ours. A lot of people say that, hey, these franchises don't belong to you. They're right. Franchises don't belong. They belong to two people. This is what I like to say. It belongs to the original creator and the fans. And when these two things become, in a way, a perfect harmony, they become legends. And our mythos, like Doomcock likes to say, these are our literally our cultural mythos. These are our our legends, our heroes, our Spartacus. This is our Spartacus for our new age. These are so I really want to do good by you guys. That's why I'm doing this book. I just really want the story to come out, and I want to see how people out there react to it. Now, do I have a big audience right now on YouTube? No, I don't. I only have very few subscribers, and I haven't get any views, which is fine. And eventually, when we get it fully ready, I will sit down and we will go over. I will want to explain the characters of the book, and I want to take questions from people who do read it, especially after the book comes out. I'm gonna have live streams where I plan on sitting down, talking with fans about the book, and then doing signings, going to places and signing books and all that stuff. I want to do that because I want to meet the fans. I want to sit down and meet people. I'm not a big people person, but but I would like to sit down with, especially nerds. I love nerd culture. I love sitting. I never was big into comics as much as a lot of people were, but there were times where I would sit down with other people, especially in the military. You have no idea how many nerds are actually in the Marine Corps. We're hardcore nerds, a lot of us. And I met some of the greatest people in the Marine Corps because of our nerddom, and it was surprising. Like, they look like jocks. I was the loser in school who joined the Marine Corps, who was a geeky little guy. And then some of the guys there that looked like jocks were actually huge nerds, comic book nerds, but we came from all walks of life, and all we wanted to talk about was our heroes, our games, or whatever, and we had a good time. So, that's all I really wanted to put in this video. Just stay safe out there, because I know the thing that we shall not be named is going on pretty hardcore. I still have to go to work. My wife still has to work. She's a nurse, and I'm security, so we can't be gone from our especially security. Like, we have to be here no matter holidays, no matter what. And but eventually I would love to be able to work with you guys full time. Anyways, stay safe, stay healthy. I pray for all of you all out there that, even if you don't want me to, that's just who I am. All right. So, from one bearded vet to all of you, have a nice day. All right. See you later.